Can this series do no wrong? Hello everybody, I am PhenomSage and welcome back to another Place Further Than the Universe episode review. Today we are talking about episode 3, The Follow Backs Don't Stop. And what was I expecting other than just another fantastic episode in this series? My god, this series continues just to impress me with its cast of compelling characters and the interactions that they have during every episode. Like seriously, if you just enjoy good character work, you are so missing out if you're not watching this season. So yeah, if we're going by 3 episode rules, I think it's safe to say that this series is going to be amazing. And it's just between this and Darling for my anime of the season right now. I know it's going to be between these two. There's no doubt in my mind that it will be the two of these series competing. Honestly, it just depends on where Darling goes in the future, but the fact that we have 3 episodes of this versus the 1 episode of that, I think it's safer to say at this point that Antarctica is going to be incredible. It's going to be at least on that anime of the season caliber type stuff. So let's just get into this. Despite my praise, this episode did feel more low-key than our past 2 episodes, especially last episode with that incredible chase sequence. Nothing in this episode that quite matches up to that, but that's not to speak poorly on the episode. We get a ton of substance and progression to our characters in this episode. And I say that it feels low-key, but then by the end of this episode, this series just reaffirms that it knows how to take me off my feet and makes me feel that excitement and energy that our characters feel while planning this trip. And of course, I'm talking about the incredible, just brief but incredible sequence where Mari is reaching out her hand to Yuzuki, beckoning her to come on this adventure with them and share in the excitement. And what I like about not only Yuzuki as a character, but also just this entire scenario is that her desire to grab Mari's hand in that instant, and just her entire purpose for going on this adventure, isn't the same as the rest of them. We heard it from her herself. She doesn't care about Antarctica or this journey that they're going on. All she wants is friends, people to share this adventure with. Now, that's not to say that she's going to be a sour note the entire trip and she's not going to enjoy it. Far from it. I'm sure she's going to enjoy it immensely. But the reason that she's enjoying it is because she's surrounded with these newfound friends, something that she's never had in her life. They could be taking a trip to Tokyo and I'm sure she would be just as happy to go there with them. So I like that dynamic with Yuzuki's character among the rest of the group because I wasn't sure what kind of character Yuzuki would be. I didn't know where they were going to take this, and I am very happy with where they took her. Anyways, about that scene where Mari is just reaching out her hand, it's another symbolic way of reaching out to the audience and making us feel like we are being beckoned on this adventure with them. I've praised this every single episode and it continues here. We continue to get that sense like we are a part of this group who is coming along with them. It feels so energetic and passionate, and it's just a beautiful way to immerse us in not only the story, but these characters in what could otherwise be a pretty boring premise of just planning a trip. It just feels so much more impactful, and I do think a large part of this is due to how expertly written these characters are. This series just knows how to write and handle compelling characters. And of course, in this episode is prominently shown through our main focus, Yuzuki. As the episode goes on and we learn more and more about her struggles, we just naturally care and sympathize with her without the show needing to go out of its way to force that kind of response. It's very subtly done. It's not like we look into Yuzuki's backstory and people are just ignoring her blatantly and refusing to have anything to do with her. In fact, as soon as she reaches high school, we see her immediately, just instinctually, ask to be friends with these girls because she's never really had a friend. And we see these girls actually try and befriend Yuzuki, trying to make plans to meet up with her, but never being able to follow through because Yuzuki was always so busy. So eventually they just leave the group because they can't hang out. They never hang out because she's always so busy. So it was pretty refreshing to see that they didn't try and elicit a response that felt shallow. Like everything happening with Yuzuki and her backstory felt natural and it felt subtle. One thing I predicted wrong about Yuzuki last episode is I was predicting what kind of role she would have in the story in this episode, since I knew she was being introduced this episode, and I wondered how they would integrate her into this group, and frankly how this group would even make it to Antarctica in the first place because things were looking pretty down. And I said that Yuzuki would probably be another kind of Shirase kind of character where she wants to go on this trip but something is stopping her and she needs to team up with this group of girls in order to make it with them. But I guess I'm terrible at predicting things because the exact opposite happened. Yuzuki is the one who doesn't want to go on the trip, but her mother is forcing her. And as I've been mentioning throughout, Yuzuki doesn't want to go because she's continually had to cancel plans on her friends that she's always wanted, and eventually just decides, you know what, no, enough is enough. I want to live my life in high school without having to worry about all of these celebrity things. And of course, this is a pretty standard backstory. We're not breaking any new grounds here. But at the same time, it's just, like I said, it's executed so well that I care. And it doesn't matter if I've seen it before because it fits into this story. And again, I just have to praise that this backstory was presented in a way where it didn't need to be melodramatic in order for me to care about Yuzuki, and the payoff that we eventually get at the end of the episodes where she realizes I can make friends with these girls and go on an adventure with them. And when she eventually breaks down crying, I was feeling very emotional. So no, just because it's standard doesn't mean I don't think it works incredibly well. There are just some scenarios that really appeal to our humanity and makes us relate to these characters that much more. But now that we have our fourth member in the group, I just have to say that I love how well the group forming is built. And what I mean by that is I love how we've formed our group in the matter of 3 episodes, and how surprisingly natural it's felt over the course of that time. And this is showcased beautifully when Yuzuki is talking to the 3 of them, and Mari is trying to sympathize with her. She's saying, I get how you feel. I get how it feels like you're wasting the precious time of your youth away. I totally get that. And Yuzuki is like, no, you don't. You guys have probably been friends forever. What are you talking about? You've probably done tons of cool things together. And Yuzuki is just naturally assuming what we as the audience feel, that the 3 of these girls have been friends, it feels like forever. So when she finds out that they've not really even known each other for a month, she realizes that there is potential for her to be a part of this group as well and make friends with all of them. So I really enjoy that time isn't really a factor here. Like, it already feels like we are all best friends. I want to talk about this script for a second because, as I've said throughout, it does such a good job of relating us to Yuzuki's struggles in a very engaging way without coming across overly dramatic or emotional. And that just goes doubly so throughout the episode. The use of script was just awesome, and particularly I like that the episode started on the same line that it ended on. We immediately begin the episode seeing Yuzuki just standing in the heat, just exasperatingly saying, I could just die right now. And we later learn that this is because that she does not want to go to Antarctica, she just wants to spend time with some friends. But I love that by the end of the episode, after we've all formed our friendships and Yuzuki has that newfound determination to go to Antarctica with these 3 girls, we end the episode on the same line saying, I could just die right now, but in a completely different context, this time out of happiness, thinking about seeing these sights with her newfound friends. So it's just well done. I really enjoy callbacks like that. If you noticed in any of my reviews, I always give points when the writing goes full circle like that and makes it feel like the entire episode had a purpose. Besides the Yuzuki drama that we had in this episode, there was a ton of comedy, and it all landed. I don't know how they do it. This is the second time I've reviewed a series that isn't really a comedy, and yet it's making me laugh more than any of the comedy series that I'm watching this season. Again, this just has to be chalked up to a wonderful script. Shirase continues to be one of the funniest characters in the show, and I think this comedy works so well because these characters are just all so inherently likable. They have so much personality and charisma that just seeing them talk to each other and seeing the antics that they get into is just naturally incredibly funny. So yeah, the comedy just adds to the feel-good factor in my opinion. I feel like the comedy's only gotten better and better with every single episode, most likely due to the fact that we now have all these characters coming together. I also have to make a note on this OST yet again. It's incredible, like always. What did you expect? It's enhanced so many scenes during this series for me, and that only continues in this episode, especially during during some of the sequences in the latter half where we really get into the heart of Yuzuki's situation and her desperate desire to become friends with these girls. And there's no other way to describe it other than it just makes you feel happy. So happy. I would be completely okay with them playing that same vocal track every single episode because it just works so well to communicate a wider range of emotions. Throughout this episode, we get a lot, and I mean a lot, of subtle foreshadowing to events that I think are sure to come. And not just any small events, but I feel like these could be potentially huge events that shape entire episodes in the future. So I just want to go over a few and theory craft just a little bit. And I know, why am I theory crafting on a character drama? I know. It's just fun, okay? I just want to see if these things actually end up happening. Because this show is just so well written, I can't see these things being hinted at without going through with it. For one, at the very end of the episodes, after the credits, and of course shown throughout the episode as well, we get some shots of Yuzuki's mother looking at an old photo of her and her daughter together. And throughout the episode, I did get the sense that this isn't just some mother who is using her daughter, like she does care about her. And we do see that tinge of regret at that very last scene after the credits. So they're clearly building something up there. I think that maybe not next episode, but I do think that sometime in the future we will be getting closure to this relationship between Yuzuki and her mother, where her mother finally realizes, I can't force you to do these things anymore. I love you. I want you to do your own thing with your life. And again, that's pretty standard. I think that's basically what most would expect from that kind of dynamic there, but I'm speculating on it anyways because I do think it's going to happen in the future. Yo guys, it's me from the future, here to say that I was completely wrong about that final scene after the credits. That is not Yuzuki's mother at all, and that is not a photo of Yuzuki. I only noticed it in editing when I was looking back at the episode, but that is absolutely Shirase and an unknown woman. Oh, we're all assuming that that's her mother, come on now. Anyways, what the deal with this is, I don't know. We don't know who this mole woman is either. That is definitely not the woman in the photo. I'm guessing that's a woman who is a friend or maybe a family member of Shirase's mother, but it is definitely not Shirase's mother herself, that's for sure. I was momentarily confused because this woman looks pretty similar to Yuzuki's mother, and Yuzuki herself looks pretty similar to Shirase, so it was just made for confusion, but luckily I caught it before I uploaded it because I know I would have gotten a ton of corrections if I didn't put this in here myself. So yeah, what the deal with that is, I don't know, but I have a feeling that the Shirase mother mystery will play a large role once we actually reach Antarctica. Oh, and about that stuff that I said about Yuzuki and her mother, I still think that stuff is going to happen, so I'm not going back on that. I just wanted to correct this little mistake I made here. Alright, back to the regularly scheduled review. There is a brief interaction in this episode as well that I think will come back in the future, maybe even next episode. And that is when Mari and Megu are talking and Megu's like, you want to go get something to eat later? And Mari, of course, is so busy with all these plans to get to Antarctica that she says, maybe another time, I need to go do this with Shirase and Hinata. And the scene just briefly lingers on Megu just a little bit too much, looking unhappy that I am sure that this confrontation is going to occur in the future. Just Megu saying, you're spending so much time with them, you never spend any more time with me. I was your first friend, like why are you doing this to me? Again, that feels like a pretty likely confrontation that I could see happening, and considering that I think we're only going to be spending maybe one more episode in this city before we're on the boat to Australia, I think that could be happening next episode. So that's going to be interesting to see. I always really enjoy character drama, so I am so down for that. Megu is a good character though, so I really hope that everything works out between them. I'm sure it will. This isn't the type of series that really leaves character relationships on a bad note. I just can't see that happening, especially with Megu, because Megu's always been there for Mari. I can't see that happening, I'm sorry. And not really relating to character drama, but still on the topic of foreshadowing of future events, during the end of the episode, we see the four girls just looking at this videotape of the aurora in Antarctica, and they're just so in awe of it, and Shirase just talks about her mother saw it and how it moved her to tears. So you know for a fact that we're getting that aurora somewhere in the series. I think that could be like final episode endgame type stuff right there. But when it does happen, you know it's just going to be so beautiful. I just cannot wait until they reach Antarctica and They're just so in awe of everything around them. Just a few final notes that I would like to make. For one, Hinata's quotes are amazing. In episode 2, we got that brilliant quote just saying how a journey never really starts until you can't turn back. I love that quote so much. And in this, she gives us another one of her wise quotes, saying that there is a thin line between self-assertion and selfishness. And it feels like she just always knows the right thing to say, because that just describes Shirase perfectly in that moment of doubt that she had, saying that she had never really considered other people's feelings while she was trying to plan on this adventure. And we did see that throughout the episode, that Shirase was a lot more aggressive than usual, trying to make this happen at all costs. But like I said, that quote just describes her perfectly, because Shirase is not selfish. She's not. She's just doing everything that she can to make this happen. She's been working so hard for it that you can't blame her for wanting to do this no matter the cost. Also, just gonna throw this out there, Yuzuki's mom is completely wrong. Hinata, you are beautiful. You are more beautiful than any of the characters here. I'm sorry. Hinata could not take that savage burn, but real talk, Hinata is the most attractive out of all of them. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. But that's been all from me for this Place Further Than the Universe episode review. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'm really happy with the amount of people in my audience that have picked up this series and are watching it, because it's just so good. I want to share this experience with you guys, which is why I'm choosing to review this over some other series, just because I love this one so much more. It's just an absolute joy to watch every single week. So yeah, thank you guys again for joining me on this. Also, just a reminder, I've been mentioning it on every single video and I have to mention it here. Go join the Discord if you haven't. It's just such a fun place to be. If you want to chat with me or other people in the community, that is the place to go for sure. Last night we had a group stream where we just watched Summer Wars and it was awesome. I've never seen the movie before, so it was a really cool experience, and I'm glad that I could experience it with you guys. Link will be in the description if you want to join the Discord. And to those who have joined already, guys, thank you so much. It is so fun just being on there and talking to you guys. But of course, as usual, have a great day, and Shirase, why don't you sign us off?